Greetings and salutations, my fellow Tekken players. Today, we will be discussing Lars' top 15 moves. This is a video for my current Lars players, my future Lars players, and my potential Lars players out there. So, enjoy this list, and it's in no particular order. The first move I'd like to discuss is Lars' jabs. 1 and 1-2 are moves you'll be using often with pretty much any character in the game. It builds pressure on hit or on block because you're either plus or you're -1, which gives you plenty of opportunity to use your movement. You might be using this move even more than on other characters because Lars does not have many plus on block moves or fast, safe counter hit options. So often he has to opt for jabs to fill that role. I kind of question putting jabs on this list, but I feel like I use them more often with Lars than I do with any other characters. So I feel like it needs to be on his top 15. Moving on. The next move I'd like to discuss is 1-1-1. Lars' new, muchly needed 10-frame wall splatting move. This move is vital because Lars has and had an abysmal counter hit game. A number of Lars' tools leave him at around 0 to +3. At those numbers, Lars has no airtight pressure. If he goes for a back +4, his only true counter hit attack, he's at risk for getting jabbed out, or even worse, hit by a magic 4. 1-1-1 remedies this and forces your opponent to give you some respect. As well as a counter hit tool, it gives you a little bit of Oki, so it's something to remember and important to learn how to utilize that Oki situation. The next move I'd like to discuss is down forward 1. It's the backbone of a lot of characters' pressure, so I shouldn't really need to go too in depth about this move, but down forward 1 is amazing. -1 on block, +5 on hit. I mean, in the past, it probably was one of the better down forward ones, but with all the recently added down forward ones, with all the extensions, etc., it doesn't really stand out as much as it used to, but it's still quite powerful. And it should be used often to test your opponent and keep them honest, because Lars likes to jab, so people will start to duck. So down forward 1 lets them know that, hey, I've got mids, man. I've got mids. The next move I'd like to discuss is 2-1 or 2-1-3 or 4. It's your go-to 10-frame punisher dealing out the most damage at 20. And it also gives you a reasonable amount of frames of +6, making your go-to counter hit options like back 4 uninterruptible. 2-1 is an important punishing tool. It's Lars' most important 10-frame punisher, but it also serves some utility in pressure. Even though it is -5 on block, 2-1, those few frames between 2-1 and 2-1-3 cause hesitation, and it lets you go in and go for a big low like forward 4-3, or a quick low like down 4 or down back 1. So this move has a lot of utility beyond just punishment. The next move I'd like to talk about comes in at number 5 in our top 15. It's down back 4. A valuable, long-reaching, high-crushing, basically unseeable low that gives you a turn and launches on counter hit. With strong tracking, it can really only be evaded by a very preemptive sidestep right. So, this move needs to be utilized. It's very risky, it's very dangerous. You get launched on block, but if you mix it up with movement and some funky timing, it shouldn't be blocked very rarely. It should be blocked very rarely. So use this move, and I also have an entire guide explaining on why this is basically the best sweep in the game on my channel. I'll leave a link to that video below. The next move in our top 15 is back 4. It's not the greatest counter hit move in the game, but it's what Lars has. It covers pretty reasonable range, being able to clip somebody at range 2. And it's a knee, so it can't be countered by many characters. After some of your 10 frame punishers like 1-2 or 2-1, you're at a nice little +6, +5, +7 or so. So usually going for back 4 against overly mashy opponents, it's pretty much a safe go ahead to go. I mean, there's no harm in it really. Well, except for being super linear on both sides. But if you're positive your opponent's going to press something, it's not always the worst move to go for. And it's decent at middle ranges since, it's a nice long-reaching counter hit mid. Coming in at number 7, it would be a travesty if it wasn't on the list, is the Orbital, a vital low crush launcher that is safe. The bit of high evasion, an amazing move. The move is quite linear, so it's best to not abuse it, but upon a proper read, throwing this out, I mean, there's little to no risk. The only benefit and a loss of a turn, but at least you're not punished. And you're most likely going to be using this move more frequently to low crush than up forward 3, because unlike up forward 3, up forward 4 crushes at the 9th frame and up forward 3 crushes at the 12th frame. It's a little bit of complex Tekken jargon if you're not really familiar with frames. All that means is if you're like in a minus situation and you're trying to jump kick, there are going to be situations where the jump kick from your orbital is going to go over the low, while your lightning screw is going to you're still going to get clipped by the low because he doesn't jump over the attack fast enough. It's a little bit complex, but it's just something to keep in mind. Up forward 4 is the superior low crush. The next move in the top 10 I'd like to discuss is forward 1+2. Comes out around 16 to 17 frames, so it's a fairly reasonably speedy move for at least the range it covers. You can hit somebody from around range 2 to 3 with this attack, and it also has massive pushback, so your opponent can't just do a quick jab retaliation or a down forward 1 try to get the momentum back because they're just too far away. So despite being minus 11 due to the pushback, it almost resets the neutral. And I've seen some people do some pretty crazy stuff after getting forward 1+2 blocked, like just throwing an orbital heal or a arc blast or a lightning screw right after the move is blocked. The next move I'd like to discuss is Lars's Hell Sweep, forward 4-3, a powerful low. All of Lars's lows, well, the majority of them, are launch punishable. So this one is definitely one where you get a bang for your buck due to the damage. You're +3 with some slight pushback, so it gives you some room to maneuver and sidestep, but at the same time you can't do easy down forward 1 pressure because it leaves them in a position where they can backdash. So on hit, it puts you in a position where you can be offensive if you want to, but you can also apply many different defensive options like a backdash or a sidestep, or use one of your evasive tools if you have a great read on your opponent. But the Hell Sweep must be utilized, and I needed to put it within the list at least before I got done with the top 10. Not only is this move useful in neutral, it also has some very good applications in Oki situations with the use of dynamic entry. I also have an entire video describing the power of dynamic entry as an Oki tool and how it's comparable to that of almost the mighty Kazuyas. So check that out on my channel if you get a chance. Arguably, one of Lars's best moves is down +4. This slow is effective because Lars has a litany of launch punishable lows, and this is essentially his only low that's not from a stance or a full crouch position. that doesn't get him blown up by almost every character. So this move needs to be used to pick at your opponent's feet without necessarily killing yourself. And the tracking it has in both directions does not hurt either. Lars actually has some pretty powerful moves from this full crouch position, since he has a high evading while standing 2, as well as a bunch of other powerful crushing tools like lightning screw from full crouch. So the opponent has to analyze the situation before he blindly just retaliates, because Lars has some crazy stuff from this position. I have an entire video on my channel dedicated to explaining the power of a generic down +4. Check it out after this one if you get the chance. It's worth the watch. The next move I'd like to discuss is number 11 out of 15 on our top 15, back +1. A strong tracking tool, it's 15 frames, it's safe, there's slight pushback, and it's a knockdown on counter hit. Some people aren't satisfied with the frames or damage on this move, but as one of the faster tracking moves in the game, and being completely safe, I think it's vital to its play, and it's probably one of the better tracking moves in the entire game. 15 frames, safe, tracking mid, it's pretty great. It'll probably even be better on another character, but hey, you're Lars, so what can you do? I wouldn't mind if this move went back to being +5, like it was before it got its buffs of getting a knockdown on counter hit, but it's fine as it is. I don't hate it. It's a great move though, and it needs to be used to discourage steppers. Coming in at number 12 of the top 15 is Sidestep 2. As mentioned previously, Lars is often in positions where he is -1 to +3 from key moves, and it's not rare for people to retaliate after getting hit. This is where you introduce your sidestep and backdash options even when your hit connects on your plus. So you can connect down back 1 and your -1, you sidestep, and then use this move. Or you could connect forward 4 +3 and then use this move. Or connect full crouch 1 +2, full crouch down forward 1 +2, and then sidestep into this move. Because people like to do a lot of retaliations when Lars is only +1 or 0, because, most of the time all you're going to eat is maybe like a jab or something if the Lars is playing fairly conservatively. So, most people take that risk. So, that's where your sidestep 2s come in handy. You could also use a sidestep arc blast in this situation, but if you're just doing a sidestep and just hoping for a whiff and you're not 100% sure they're going to throw something out, this is slightly safer due to the fact that it actually is safe at around -8 on block. But be careful for characters with powerful full crouch mix-ups will give you a bad time when they block this. Coming up at number 13 is Lars' down +2. Now, a couple of different characters in this game share a move with similar properties. A move coming around 18 frames and leaving the opponent at 0 crouching. Shaheen has one, Dragunov has one, and I wouldn't necessarily put those moves in their top 10, top 15 moves, but for Lars, this move is really important because he lacks pressure tools. So it has to come in here. So you're going to be using this to force your opponent into hesitated positions, because at 0 crouching, 1-1-1 beats pretty much any quick option that doesn't high crush. And this move also has tracking to Lars' weak side, which is his right, which is a side that he struggles to catch opponents stepping. So it has utility as a tracking tool and as a pressure tool. So here are some few ideas on how to use this move. So you do down 2, they block, you do some jabs, then you sidestep, you do down 2, you realize they like to mash, you do 1-1-1, you do down 2, you realize they don't like to do anything, and then you go into lows, or maybe you do another down 2. So I mean, you just keep putting them in a position where they have to either wait it out or make some type of guess, because -0 crouching in somebody's face and somebody is just towering over you. I mean, it's not the worst position, but it's really not a position you want to be in, especially with Lars having so many great jabs: 1-2, 1-1-1, 2-1. I mean, I honestly think this move can still be improved or tweaked, but as it stands now, I believe it should be utilized by any respectable Lars player. Coming in at number 14 is Wall Running 3. As previously mentioned, Lars does not have many pressure moves. Matter of fact, he doesn't have any mid that you can just press to gain +3 or 4 on block. The only move that gives Lars block plus frames is Wall Running 3. So being able to utilize this move, especially from close range, is vital to be able to put pressure on your opponent as Lars. And I stress close range. Doing an instant Wall Running 3 is important. This move is not as great as Dragunov's or Noctis's or Claudio's or any of that, or even Kazumi's. But due to the fact that Lars lacks those plus frame tools, this move needs to be in the rotation. Personally, outside of just the neutral, where I use this in closer range situations, I also use this as a mix-up after connecting down back 4. I discussed this in my down back 4 dedicated video, but down back 4 is +5 and leaves the opponent crouching, so you can go into full crouch mix-ups or forward mix-ups, or just go for a Wall Running 3. Because after a down back 4, a running 3 and a forward 4-3 don't look super different due to the up close dashing animation. So it's pretty much a mix-up in that situation, at least if they don't sidestep, which is an option you can cover because Lars has tracking moves from full crouch, like down forward 2 from full crouch. The last move I'd like to describe within Lars's top 15, before it gets a little bit too long, is Lars's Dynamic Entry 1. Yes, Dynamic Entry 1. After the stance, the move comes out at about 11 frames. It's +8 on hit, and it's -1 on block. The same as a block down forward 1 or a 1-2 string. So you still have a lot of options after this move is blocked. It also has an extension in 1, which is another one, Dynamic Entry 1-2, which can be ducked, but there is a slight delay between the first and second hit. So if opponent just tries to initiate offense after they notice the first hit has been blocked, they will be nicked by the second hit. So the opponent basically has to respect this move. You can come in with this move from literally range 4. Range 4. A lot of characters have to figure out how they're gonna come in. They have to do a wave dash. They have to do a crouch dash. No, Lars can literally press 4-3-1, and the entire distance of 4 character spaces is closed in. He's -1 or +8. He's in your face, ready to initiate offense. This move is so good. So please, for your own sake, use Dynamic Entry 1. It'll do you wonders. Thank you for watching, and hopefully maybe you learned a little bit something. Maybe I gave you some tips and suggestions of how to use some moves you may have not been utilizing before. And if you did like it, if you did learn something, maybe like, maybe subscribe. More content is on the way. If you feel as if I missed some notable Lars moves, or you disagree with what I have within my top 15, write a comment. Let's discuss. Let's talk about it. And thank you again for watching, and I will see you all next time. King signing out.